All right. We are live and in action. Welcome to the Entrepreneurial Journey. I'm Dave Wescott. This is Dave Vetter. I'm CEO of TransBlue. This is Dave Vetter. He runs the operations of TransBlue. He makes it all happen. So it's appropriate that we have him on the call for the Flywheel.
That's right.
And interestingly enough, you sent me a text message last night and you said Gino got 103 million for 3 years, right?
That's right.
103 million. That's the Seahawks quarterback, by the way, for all of those of you who don't know what we're talking about. Geno Smith, Seahawks quarterback, got 103 million for 3 years. I would say his flywheel's working pretty good.
That's right. His flywheel. And I think that after sitting around for so many years, right? He's been a backup on a backup for so many different other quarterbacks. And it was funny. They were interviewing him last year and they were like, hey, all I've been doing for 10 years is listening to the world's best quarterbacks talk about how to play a game and working out. How did you not think I was going to be great?
Yeah, that's pretty cool. So he was keeping himself intact.
That's right. Yep, exactly. And I imagine that he's got a flywheel that looks something about, if you study and you work out and then you execute,
yeah,
and you will win, right? It's all about his winning culture. And that's basically what he said he was doing is, he had 10 years to practice for that year.
10 years of practice. He only had to get it right one time.
And $103 million. That's right.
$103 million. The interesting thing about that, for those of you don't know, what was the Seahawks record last year?
I want to say it was 9-7. I think
9-7. So we did pretty good.
9-8. Yeah, 9-8, 9-7. Yeah, I think they added an extra game.
Just over 500 or right at 500, whatever.
Got to the playoffs.
Wow, that was awesome. Lost in the first round, right?
Lost in the second round.
So we made it through the first round.
Yeah, made it
to the second. Now we were supposed to lose.
Oh,
we were like every game. Like there was a prediction that came out from ESPN that was basically like, hey, they're gonna win 2 games this year. Yeah, and that's what I remember is like, okay, the Seahawks are gonna be like absolutely terrible, and then they were like 4-2 or something like that was going on, and I was like, whoa, they're pretty good. Like they're not too bad. So what happened there? Their flywheel was working, wasn't it?
Yeah. I mean, right there, I think it comes to great organization, right? A great organization, and I think there's so many people that see success because they have that one person, right, on a sports team. If you have, Kobe, if you had Kobe Bryant, for the Lakers, he scored more than half the points almost every night. Your success was not so much about the organization as much as it was about one individual. And I think what the Seahawks showed last year was, they had Russell Wilson. It's because of this guy, it's because of this person, whatever. Well, when you're able to take all senior leadership, they took They took one of their senior leaders on defense, and then of course they got rid of Russell Wilson, and then they're still successful, even though everybody said, "Oh, you take those people out, you can't succeed." Well, that is a compliment to the strength of an organization, which is why we would bring this up, right? When you can take somebody that everybody just thinks is a backup, never really had any super success in the NFL, and then all of a sudden he goes to the Pro Bowl in his first time. That is because your processes, your system is built for success. And I think that's the lesson, right?
That is the lesson. You ever listen to or watch Stephen A. Smith? You ever see what he's got going on?
Yeah.
Stephen A. Smith cracks me up, dude. He's a funny dude. So Charles Barkley, and we're talking all about sports, but I promise this is all about business.
Yeah.
Because we're going to wrap this whole thing in. So Stephen A. Smith, he's talking to Charles Barkley.
Okay.
And Charles Barkley's on the call, and I was surprised at how old Charles Barkley looked. But Charles Barkley he's smart, right? And he says, you know what they say? They don't say the Phoenix Suns didn't win a championship. They say Charles Barkley didn't win a championship. he's like, I don't get to go down as one of the greats. They don't say the Miami Dolphins didn't win a championship. They say Dan Marino didn't win a championship. And then they go on and they compare this lineage of incredible athletes who, like Charles Barkley, like Dan Marino, they've been on a team. And if they couldn't lead the team, if they couldn't direct the team, if they couldn't be the man in the box that took them to greatness, they said that really changes their place in history as a great player, right? What are they able to accomplish? Are they able to bring it home? What kind of leader are they? And so leadership has a lot to do with the flywheel. And I think we're talking about sports and we're talking about Gino, and I love that Gino got 103 million. Congratulations to him. What an awesome accomplishment. But I want to think I want to just talk about Russell Wilson for a second, because I love Russell Wilson. I don't love him as much now that he's a Bronco, but I want to say, they had this idea, let Russ cook, and Russ wanted to, and just as this from an article that I read, so I could be completely wrong. All of the sports enthusiasts, you can shoot me down or hit me with a crossbow shot. I don't know, but I read this article and they said, hey, we let Russ cook. We gave Russ an opportunity to cook, and we had 3 games where he came in and he designed that offense, and we let him play and we let him do his thing, and he was a part of our leadership meetings. I didn't even really realize that football teams had leadership meetings, but in this article they describe how they have a leadership meeting and how he was a part of the leadership meeting and he was a part of what that looked like. And so what they showed was that on these 3 occurrences where they allowed Russ to cook, they got absolutely blown out. Mm-hmm. They got smoked. Mm-hmm. And so after the 3rd one, they were like, hey, Russ, that's actually not working. It's not good for the team. And from the article, Russell Wilson storms out of the meeting. He leaves, and right there, the bad blood happens between him and Pete Carroll. And so we look at that team and we say, okay, wait a minute. These Seahawks just got rid of Russell Wilson, and we're going to have the worst season of all time, and we're not going to be successful, and it's a complete rebuilding year. And then we get this season that 9-7, 8-8, whatever it is. Dude, I mean, as a Seahawks fan, I felt like, wow, that was a great season. I mean, I almost felt like we won the Super Bowl because we were told that we were going to be so bad. But that's a perfect showcase of that flywheel. And back to Charles Barkley and back to Dan Marino, you look at that flywheel and you look at what they weren't able to put together. Their flywheel wasn't executing at 100%. And you look at the Seahawks and how much of that comes down to the Seahawks leadership. I got the most respect in the world for Pete Carroll. I'm always I hate Pete Carroll. I'm going to clip this guy, fire Pete Carroll. And then he always comes out and surprises me. And it's oh, he turned that around. Yeah. And so I decided that Pete Carroll's a good football coach.
Yeah. Yeah, I heard, I saw an interview just recently, right before the Super Bowl. They were talking with Marshawn Lynch, who used to play with, the Seahawks and everything, and won a Super Bowl with them and almost won a second one. And they were interviewing him. They were asking us hey, how do you get this player that's a backup, Geno Smith? How do you get that guy that no other team has really been able to work with? And I think that comes to, it's different in sports than business in one way. And I think that is the perception, right? And so as fans, when you look at a football team or you look at a basketball team or whatever favorite team you have, or whatever you admire, you look at the individual and you rank the whole organization on this one individual. But what it is, it's it is a business. It's a multi-billion-dollar business, and they run as businesses. And what you notice is you'll get the rare exception. You'll get the Tom Brady that's out there that wins no matter where he goes, because honestly, deep down inside, Tom Brady is a leader. He expects perfection. He expects processes. Right. He expects the practice. He's tenacious. And on Tom Brady's flywheel, he just picks it up and moves it with him, and he just commands that. But if you're out there in business and you're going to expect greatness because you're going to hire that one person that's going to make your whole organization operate, good luck with that. He goes, you might get it. You might find that one superstar Tom Brady type business person that just makes everything better. But most businesses are organizations. And that means that there's entire teams, there's entire departments. You got to pick the right people in the right seat. And we talk about, I know that I've heard you talk about that a million times. And then your flywheel is how you get that all rolling the right way and processes. I know that's really where you're going with this, but you're exactly right. And just kind of wrapping up my little point there was Marshawn Lynch said that Pete Carroll was a great psychologist. He got people to focus on what they were good at and what helped the organization. And that is really Pete Carroll's strength. That's what Marshawn Lynch said. He goes, he could convince you that what you were doing was amazing and just do it. And it just, that's where his talent was.
He was a great salesman. He is a great salesman.
Yes.
Always be closing. Remember that. There's a movie that's all about that. We're not going to go down that rabbit hole because it would be movies, football. This thing will be all on the rail train wreck. But I think that's so true, right? You always got to be selling. And you touched on something that's really important within the flywheel and within the organization. And, it is about bringing in amazing people, right? It really is. But if those people are put into the wrong seat, or if you bring in amazing people, how many organizations have brought in somebody and said, hey, this is the guy who's going to change my business forever, or this is the guy who's going to take me to the next level, or because I got this guy. And what happens is without processes, without training, without the guardrails in place, what happens? A lot of times we burn those amazing people out.
Yeah, you've got to support.
Right?
Yeah, you absolutely have to be able to follow through on what these amazing people try to put in place for you, right? Sales guy can bring a great customer to the table, but operations has to execute.
That's right. Operations has to execute. And so that's where the flywheel comes into place. And so, Ralph, let's show our flywheel here. Let's pop that bad boy up and let's talk about the flywheel. Now, what is a flywheel? A flywheel is what turns the organization. And the flywheel turns the organization. And as it began, and shout out to Jim Collins, this is 100% Jim Collins. This is not unique to TransBlue. Okay. This is not something that we created. This is not something I created. This is all Jim Collins. So let's give him all the credit in the world, but doing our due diligence and trying to be the best business executives, the best business coaches, the best mentors that we can be. We're always investing in ourselves. We're always investing in our team. And so it starts with really, what are you looking at? And so when you bring that superstar in, when you bring that, well, we can't say Russell Wilson anymore, but when you bring that Geno Smith into Seattle, he's got to fit into a program, right? We got to know where we're going. And you said Tom Brady, like these guys command greatness. And, you have those guys that are just, 1 in a million guys. And I love those guys, but that's not everybody. That's the exception, not the rule, right? And so that 1% guy, most companies will never have that 1% guy that has that true X factor. So if we're bringing in those guys, what are we going to do? So our flywheel is simple. We want to deliver an incredible experience. That's all we want to do as an organization. And so from there, we identify our customers. And some of those, our customers are our employees, right? And Dave works with them every single day. And so what is like some of those goals, like Dave was just doing reviews over the last couple of weeks, right? Really working to do that. How do you really look at giving that employee who works underneath you or for you or with you, however you want to phrase it, how do you give them that incredible experience? What does that look like in your mind as an executive with, 30 years experience behind you?
That's a great question. Really, when it comes to your own staff and when you're looking at people that are trying to accomplish a goal, it's first of all, understanding how they fit within your organization. You have to know that going in. You have to know where their strengths are and how they fit, just like this flywheel. One thing leads into another. And when you're talking when I talk with team members, and we have those reviews and we talk about what their goals, it starts with understanding the goal. Do they understand their role within the organization and how what they do influences somebody else's department? How does the sales team understand? Well, I got to hit these goals. And it's like, I understand what your sales goals are. And we're going to talk about how you're going to accomplish those. But do you understand exactly that your goals in sales directly influence operational goals? because if you don't sell the work, they don't have things to do. Now, we're going to talk about their goals and operations in another meeting with somebody else. But for the salesperson, for example, it's making sure they understand how their market is, making sure they understand where their strengths are, making sure that we've got the right person. We have multiple salespeople here at TransBlue, and we play to their strengths, and we talk about their strengths. We talk about what they're comfortable with. We talk about where they need extra help. And then at the same time, we also talk about how they fit within the organization and how they get the most from the people that work with them and interact with them. Say, you have to provide this to operations, and operations will make you look good for your customers so you can sell more, and each individual have their own independent flywheel.
Yeah, that's cool. So what I heard you saying was that you're just always setting the expectation.
Definitely.
Right. You're always, and that's kind of that Pete Carroll mentality, that psychology, right? Where do you fit? Where do you belong? What are your strengths? Where do you work at? Right. What are you doing to be that great coach? Mm-hmm. And so that's what Dave does on a daily basis. He's managing and mentoring those team members that allow us to hit our goals and our initiatives. And then what I would do is I bring the culture. So I like to say, Dave brings the hammer, I bring the culture, right? So that's just for fun. We just joke around about that. But my goal is just to spend time with the team, right? Just to hang out with them.
You do a good job.
Once a week, I take someone to lunch. It's a different person on the team every single week.
Every single person on the team.
Every single person. It doesn't matter if you're trimming lawns or whatever, but we're focused on that experience, and we're focusing on it from two different sides. We're focusing on one, culture and loving on the team and learning and growing, and then we're setting expectations and managing results, and we're driving them in the right direction. Yep. Because one of the things we know is that we cannot deliver an incredible experience to a customer, right, if we do not deliver an incredible experience internally. So that's something to really focus on. Now, we utilize subcontractors in our business. Dave, how do we deliver and how do you deliver? How do you coach our team to deliver an incredible experience to our subcontractors? What's your methodology there?
Well, I think that it's very similar. It's you have to understand what your subcontractors are there to do, but then also understand what their experience is, right? Understand, for example, I might have a subcontractor I know I'm not their only customer, but I want to be their most important customer. So it's important for me to understand what their customer demographic looks like and how do I play into that? And then how do I move myself higher up their priority? Number one thing is make it easy for them, work with them. If they don't fill something out right, don't blast them. Don't, hey, whatever. Get them in contact with them. Call them on the phone and try to help them out. They're trying to learn your system. They're trying to conform to you, but you can't just blast them because they did it wrong. It's not their system. So how do we work with them on that? Getting them paid fast. You got to make sure that if there's an issue or you're not seeing invoices from them or they're a little delayed, they may not have the staff that we have. I mean, I know they don't have the staff that we have. So I know that things can be a little slower on there. And so maybe we can do something to help speed that along. Maybe we can create technologies. We picked up some new, a really big contract here just recently, and it's all across the country. And as part of that was understanding that we need more Spanish instruction, just, hey, we've got all these different things and all this stuff, but the core group of this is primarily a landscape related contract. And we understand that the demographics that are out there that, hey, look, we need to be more inclusive. We need to make sure that we're not creating a challenge because we don't have every single document translated into Spanish. We got to do that. I mean, you got to do that so that you can put yourself ahead. And then you can also get really good talent in there and they understand everything the same way you want to. So that's just a sample. I mean, it's looking at it from their point of view, the same way I would look at it from my employees' point of view.
Yeah, that's awesome. And I was thinking of that same contract that you're speaking of. And one of the things that we did was, we utilized Service Channel on this. And, some of the feedback is from other service providers who have serviced this contract in the past has been like, man, Service Channel is tough to utilize. It's tough to do this. It's tough to do that. And there's a lot of that around there, right? And so like we find that Service Channel is really easy for the guys who utilize Service Channel. Like Service Channel is not a difficult program to utilize. But what we find is that we, right, as the general contractor, we need to be that grease. We need to create that. So our teams actually created entire built out PowerPoints from English to Spanish so that those subcontractor partners could have a quick tutorial on how to utilize ServiceChannel for check-in and check-outs.
Yep.
And that's giving them an incredible experience, because what we put together was far better and far easier to understand than what ServiceChannel had put together. And so we put it in their terms. This is how you understand it. And so rolling that out to our teams and then providing training to those subcontractor partners so that they could hit those goals, hit those SLAs, those service level agreements that are required within the ServiceChannel program. And so that's how we do that.
Yeah. And I think it's real important if you're in business, whether you're in manufacturing and you've got suppliers that need to create a particular widget and have it delivered on time, or, whatever you are doing, or if you're like in an accounting space or something and you've got somebody else that's helping support your bookkeeping or whatever that you've got going on. I think it's really important to understand I see a lot of industries and a lot of businesses out there and business owners that'll say, hey, this is what I expect from you. Get it done. And that's where they leave it. And that just you're just
chaos.
You're teeing up disaster, right? Yep. As opposed to just saying that, hey, look, I know that when we negotiate a subcontract agreement with one of our subcontractors, I know that when we do that, I am talking to a senior leadership person at that other company. I know I'm talking either to the owner or some supervisor, some high level management. But I know that the person that actually is going to execute the work and is actually going to log into ServiceChannel is not that guy. And so I want to give that company all the tools that I think they could possibly use, that they can filter all the way down to the team members and go, hey, yeah, when you get there, like we have sweeping contracts. When you're there at 2:00 in the morning, when nobody in my office is awake, TransBlue is giving you this video. It's also in Spanish. And if you get stuck, watch this video 2 or 3 times if you have any problems. And then, oh, by the way, they also gave you a 24-hour hotline number. You can call them. There will be somebody other that'll pick it up at 2, 3 o'clock in the morning and help you. And we don't have to do that. There's nothing in our contract that says we have to do that. But if you're going to be successful, you have to do those things.
And that is what leads us to an incredible customer experience. When we take care of our partners, when we take care of our employees, they will automatically deliver that. Just like what they're doing at the Seattle Seahawks. They're only going to win 2 games this year. We go to the playoffs. Are you kidding me? I feel like we won the Super Bowl. Like I said it. The experience for me being a Seahawks fan was awesome. Like, it exceeded my expectations because the expectation was so low. I felt like a win. I can't even remember who won the Super Bowl at this point. All I know is that we had a good season.
Yeah.
and that's what's important. And so, what does that lead to for us? Online reviews, right? Those are so key in this day and age. Your business is what Google says your business is.
That's right.
Referrals, customer loyalty. That's something that I think you can speak directly to. Customer loyalty. What does that mean to a business? What does that mean to a brand, Dave?
Well, getting customer loyalty, and there's a book out there called Raving Fans, and it really speaks to this. And I know there's lots of books about this. Disney has its whole thing about, I think that you once told me that Disney is probably one of the only organizations where they have it's in the 90 percentile of individuals that will return.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Imagine, I don't care what you do for a business. Imagine if 98 or 90 some percent of all your customers you knew were going to come back and visit and use your services, use your products again, buy your products again. That's absolutely amazing. And online reviews is so important because it is the first thing everybody does these days, right? I know that when I go to check into a hotel, first thing I do is I look at the reviews. When I'm thinking about using a new restaurant, first thing I do is I look at the reviews. When I'm going to go get a tree service or do any sort of service at my own house, first thing I do is check reviews. So you don't get those reviews without the first piece of our flywheel, which is deliver an incredible customer experience. Boom, that gets to the reviews.
And these items that you're looking at purchasing and you're doing reviews on, these cost thousands of dollars, where a customer may be looking at spending millions of dollars. right? So
Absolutely.
what are you doing to build that loyalty? What are you doing to build that? And it all starts with an incredible experience, because the one thing we know about everybody who's in a procurement type position is they don't want to deal with the headaches.
Nope.
So if your business can be one less headache, you're going to build that loyalty. So next for us, it clicks down: less advertising, higher margins, higher close rate, and more of the right business. Isn't the right business so important? I mean, you were a True Green guy for a long time, and they were really, really particular on the right kind of customer, right?
Yeah, absolutely. They would. So when I worked for Land Care, True Green, they had an original model was see lawn, mow lawn. They would do anything. If anybody reached out to them, they would take care of that customer. Didn't matter how big or how small that customer was. Well, this is one of the largest landscape companies on the planet. And that's a cool philosophy, and it sounds really good, and it sure makes it easy on the sales guys, right? But for the operational side of things, to be able to deliver that incredible customer service, you've got crews that have to be able to take care of all types of sites. From the Nike World Headquarters would be one of the customers, or Microsoft's World Headquarters, all the way down to some multi-million-dollar residential property. The customer base was so different, and what they found was they would end up spending more time or as much time managing the smallest book of work that they had as they would managing some of the largest books of work that they had. And so when you really look at that, it sets you up for failure. You're either going to deprive your best customers, your top 25 customers, or whatever that might be, of the service levels that they honestly deserve, to try to cater towards the smallest 25 customers that you've got, or you're going to just fracture your team. I mean, your team, you're going to stress out and wear out your own cogs in your own machine. And so we decided we wrote it off. I mean, there was Land Care got rid of the the entire construction team, the heavy construction. When we first started, we were doing massive installation projects for landscaping, multi-million-dollar installs for landscape, brand new corporate centers and stuff like that. And what they realized was that book of work was too inconsistent. It didn't create regular cash flow. We would have a high week or a high month and then a low month, because it was all RFP. And they decided they really wanted to focus on what we were really good at, which was consistent cash flow, annual contracts. And then we ended up just moving all the way over to landscape maintenance and focusing on that, and focusing on only commercial customers with an emphasis on large campuses. Large corporate campuses is really where their sweet spot was. And it took a lot, but what it did is it reduced a lot of overhead, because you weren't maintaining all these extra customers that weren't really bringing in that much revenue. And so by focusing on that, focusing what we're good at, and maximizing that effort, they were able to turn a lot of things around. They're still doing it now.
Man, that is so true, and that's such good advice for anybody listening. I hope that people were taking notes to that, because having that focus is see lawn, mow lawn is such a bad idea. In the beginning, it's kind of a necessity. But interestingly enough, the last time I worked with True Green, before the Land Care split, and when it was just True Green, and they were the billion-dollar organization, part of ServiceMaster, we worked with them, and they were a subcontractor of ours. And one of the things, interestingly enough, is that True Green Land Care, on their enhancement division, like, they would take on any project as long as it wasn't over $65,000-$70,000. And it was for an apartment, or it wasn't like a residential type thing, like a commercial building type deal. And so, to your point, like, they were open and arms wide open to bid. Hey, you got some plants that need to go in. Hey, you got some arbor care that you need to get done. Hey, you need a bioswale we built. Hey, like, all of these different projects. But if that project got over $100,000, they would just decline it. They say, nah, we're not interested. Now we're not interested. Now we're not interested. And, thinking back on that, maybe that had to do with, hey, like, we're in and out of that really, really fast. We know that we can bang out 65, 70 grand in 2-3 weeks. Our crews are on to the next job, and we're keeping our enhancements moving. So, like, as you're building your business, know who the right customer is, and go after that work. And I think that's really, really important. And then as the flywheel turns, you get more of the right subcontractors. Like having True Green Land Care at the time as a subcontractor was really powerful.
Yeah.
You know, like they were a great subcontractor to work with. The other thing that was great was like if they had an issue or there was a mistake that was made, the thing about True Green was they would come and fix it. Like it didn't matter what it was. They were able to stand behind their work because of the volume and the size of their business. Mm-hmm. And so those are things that I think are really, really important because that gives us more competitive pricing. It gives us higher quality contracts. It gives us increased profitability. Working with True Green is a lot easier than working with Paul's landscape service.
Right.
Right. If Paul gets sick and is in the hospital, what happens? Every contract stops. If the local branch manager gets sick and in the hospital, they just replace him. Not to be cutthroat about it, but at the end of the day, like that ship is so big, it's going to keep moving, right?
Hopefully, no one from True Green's HR department's listening.
This is the old True Green, not the new True Green. This is old True Green. This is old True Green, right? This is when they were the Galactic Empire, I guess you could call it, right?
Yeah.
But that makes our lives better, right? And so talk to us a little bit about that. That makes staffs, clients, that makes lives better.
Yeah. And when you are experiencing that kind of success and when you get yourself and you understand where your business excels, the whole team feeds off of that, right? They know it. They learn it. They become experts at your business at every level. They know their roles. They know what you're looking for, and they promote you in those areas to people that maybe you're not currently doing business with. And so on the flywheel, you do deliver the customer experience, you get the online reviews and you get that customer loyalty. You're spending less on marketing because you get that repeat customer that's coming back. And then they're willing to pay a little bit more for your service because they enjoy it so much. And then that ties into what we were just talking about, which is really just being able to have the whole team, you can get your pricing more competitive, not because you're losing in margin, but because you're getting more efficient at it, right? You're getting better. Your whole team is executing at a higher level. I know that I had a gentleman I was working with, Mike, who was a region manager, and Mike had a very straightforward philosophy for all of his teams. And that was whatever we did last year, the budget for this year is to do the same thing better, to do it faster, to do it more efficiently.
Love it.
Like learn from what you did the year prior and execute on that. So yeah, absolutely.
So that's it. That's how we turn that wheel. That's how we drive that incredible customer experience. That's how we do it. Yep. And I'm just going to say it like this. That's how we don't end up a Dan Marino or a Charles Barkley or, I guess I'm going to just throw Aaron Rodgers in there because I don't like him. And Aaron Rodgers, I don't want to be an Aaron Rodgers,
Yeah. That's a whole personnel conversation. I'm pretty sure you've already had some of those on the entrepreneurial journey.
That's right. We have those all the time. We don't want to detract.
Yeah, the flywheel. But like you said, once your company is turning like that, once you're delivering all those things, when your team knows what they're doing, they know what they're excelling at, it delivers that incredible customer service and that incredible customer experience because everybody's a pro and they all know what they're doing. And it's exactly what your customers are hoping for, which in turn leads to but anyway, it just gets rolling.
It just rolls. All right, Dave, that was an awesome call. I'm Dave Wescott, CEO of TransBlue. Follow me on LinkedIn. Follow me on Facebook. Give me a like. Give this a share if you liked it. If you have any questions about business or flywheel, hit us up. Happy to answer. This is Dave Vetter. And follow him on LinkedIn. Say what's up. And thank you so much for joining us for a half an hour plus a few extra minutes. It was the whole Geno Smith thing that threw us over time. But it was a great call. I had an awesome time. Enjoyed chatting with you today. Thanks, Dave, for being a guest today.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you. Bye-bye.